Hi, I'm Nettie with Jesus and the Humdrum, and I want to say welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be making pizza dough. This is my personal favorite. It's easy, it's super simple to make, and tastes wonderful. Now, I'm not a professional chef. I am probably gonna do some things wrong in the terms of professional chefdom, but I am going to do my personal favorite and show you how I make it. Now, I've been making pizza dough for years and I've made several different recipes, and this one just happens to be my favorite because it's easy to work with, it's quick to make, it really doesn't require a rise. So if you wanted to make it and then bake on it immediately, you can. However, if you like that little bit of extra chewy crust, a little bit of extra rise, I recommend making it ahead of time and giving it some rise time. Now here's the thing, the recipe that I'm gonna make today, it's from my mother who got it from a friend in Canada, and I have tweaked it to my own recipe. I've used it for many years, and it's just over time I have found little things that work to make it a little bit better. And so what I'm sharing with you is my version. And also, the recipe I'm going to make today is for 2 large pizzas. And we like our crust pretty thick. If you like your crust thinner, then I would recommend just doing half the recipe. The entire recipe will be shared on my website. The link will be in the comments below, but you're more than welcome to adjust this accordingly to your family size and your needs. But this is for our family, and so let's go ahead and get started. And first of all, let's take a look at the recipe and the ingredients that you'll need to make my favorite pizza dough. Okay, so for today's recipe, I'm going to be using 5 cups of flour. Now I'm going to use half and half of all-purpose flour and then also white whole wheat flour. I find that by doing half, I get the extra nutrition value of the whole wheat, but it doesn't seem to affect the moisture level quite as much when I only do half. You can absolutely convert the whole thing to whole wheat, but you will need to adjust your liquids accordingly. Okay, also salt. It's going to need 2 teaspoons of salt. I'm using the pink Himalayan. You can use whatever. Yeast. I buy the great big bulk package of yeast at Walmart, or sometimes if I can find them at Amish stores, bulk stores, whatever. I always buy the bulk pack and put it in a jar and then stick it in the freezer. But this is the rapid rise or active yeast. I'm not sure the official name, but it is going to rise a little faster. I'm going to need 2 teaspoons of yeast today. 2 teaspoons of white sugar, 2 cups of warm water. This recipe does not have a temperature, and I know a lot of recipes do. They have a specific temperature. I know for myself, I just let the tap run over my wrist until I start feeling that warmth hit my wrist, and then I fill up my cup. I know it's not official, but it works for me. And then also oil. You'll need 8 tablespoons of oil. I have found that I prefer to use an extra virgin olive oil. It just gives a little bit of an extra flavor. But again, you can use whatever oil you prefer. I just happen to prefer olive oil. It just sets it off. All right, so that's the ingredients that you'll need. This entire recipe will be printed for you to see on my website. The link will be in the comments and then also in my bio. All right, let's get started.
Working with dough is fun, it's challenging, but it is so rewarding. Unfortunately, I cannot reach through this camera and hand you the perfect batch of dough and say, this is how it's done. There are so many things that factor into dough, things like temperature, things like humidity, and each home is different. So really, if the dough doesn't turn out, it may be that you've done everything perfectly, there was just something within the environment working against you. I don't say this to discourage you, I actually say this to encourage you so that if for some reason the recipe doesn't turn out, keep trying. Try again tomorrow. Try again the next day until you nail it down. Every batch that you make will eventually give you the experience that you'll need to know exactly what will make the perfect dough. There really is just something so satisfying about dough when it finally turns out, and when you get that knack for knowing when to add a little more flour or a little bit more liquid. Just getting the feel of it between your fingers and knowing exactly what it needs is such a rewarding experience.
Okay, so the water, explaining the water again. You can get thermometers, you can get whatever you want to get the perfect temperature, but I've just learned, this is me. So again, I'm just running it over my wrist until I feel that warmth hit. It's gonna take a few seconds, and here we go. I've just learned it over the years. I'm sorry, I wish I had an exact temperature, but I don't.
Okay, so I had all my dry ingredients in the pan and stirred them together with a spoon. Now I created a well in the center of my dry ingredients. A well is just simply creating an indentation or sort of a hole in the middle of your dry ingredients and pouring the wet ingredients in. Not a big deal, easy to do, you can't mess it up. Okay, next, you'll want to stir all of those ingredients together until they are well mixed, and it will be somewhat sticky, but not gooey. Here I have removed my jewelry. Always make sure you remove your jewelry and add a little bit of oil or moisture to your hands to make sure the dough doesn't stick and make too big of a mess. Now I am just simply working the dough with my hands, trying to get it all worked together. And as you can see, now this is really sticky. It's sticking to my hands. It doesn't want to come apart. It's kind of almost too gooey. So the next step then is to simply add just a sprinkle more flour around the pan. And again, work it with your hands. It is so much easier to work with your hands than with a spoon at this point. Just keep working, kneading until you get all of the flour worked in well. You can feel as you're kneading, the back of your hand will feel the difference, especially as it becomes less sticky. You will just notice it's not sticking to the heel of your palm. It will quit sticking to your hands. And if it is still sticky, then add just another sprinkle of flour until it no longer sticks to your hands. To me, this is the most satisfying part, is the kneading. I don't believe you can over knead your bread. I once had a lady tell me she kneads her dough 10 minutes. I obviously did not go that long here, but kneading is just fun and it actually helps activate the yeast. At this point, you're going to let it rise. You can put it in your pizza pan already shaped and let it rise that way, or you can just simply cover it with a damp cloth within your bowl and let it set.
Okay, so now we just wait. My dough is resting here, covered with a damp cloth. It prevents it from drying out, also protects it from any kind of bugs or anything. And it's just a matter of waiting. Now, as I said, you can take this straight right now, spread it out, bake it, and make your own pizza. I prefer that thicker, chewier crust, so we're gonna let it rise. Let's see, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm going to let it rise at least 3 hours.
Look at that dough. It looks so good. Now, your dough may not be this dark depending on what type of flour you used. If you'll remember, I used half white wheat. Now, it still gives it a little bit of a golden hue, and I think it looks just absolutely beautiful, but yours may look a little differently. Now, what I've done is I've removed my jewelry again. Always make sure you remove your jewelry. And then what I'm doing here is I'm just simply stretching it and kind of checking again to see if it needs a little bit more flour. Does it need a little bit more work? And then I'm going to separate it out into 2 balls of dough so that I can have 2 large pizzas. The next step is to take olive oil and make sure that you put a little bit on your pans. Now, if you're using a pizza stone, obviously you will not need the oil, but I do not have my pizza stones anymore, so this is what I'm using today. These are just some aluminum cooking sheets from Sam's. Now's the real work. Again, you do not want your dough stretching to the point of tearing, and mine was tearing a little bit right there. So I added a little bit of flour, worked it in, and again, I've not been trained as a chef, so I'm not really sure why that helps, but it does. If your dough is tearing when you pull it apart, then you'll know it needs just a little bit more flour added to it. And because I don't have a rolling pin or anything like that, I like to just stretch my dough, allowing it to hang. This allows it to just naturally stretch, get a little bit bigger, and it just makes a little bit less work for you as you stretch the dough out on the pan. It does take some work, just continually, carefully pushing it out towards the edges and continuing to work it gently, softly, but you don't want it to tear. Just keep working. This is fun, and yet it is a little bit of work, but you can absolutely do it. Okay, now that your pizza dough is in the pan, you can absolutely set it aside and let it take a second rise. This ensures that super thick crust. I ran myself out of time. I didn't have time to do it this particular day, so it's just going in the oven after 1 single rise. The good news about this dough recipe, the best news about this dough recipe, is that it's so forgiving. I am afraid I have made this sound overcomplicated, but the truth of the matter is, this is so easy. It's so easy, but yet people think you have spent a huge amount of time on it, that you've made this great meal, and it's actually just one of the easiest meals that you can do. This is great for company. People will think that you have spent a huge amount of time on dinner, and the reality of it is, it's very simple. It's very easy. That dough recipe, the reason it's one of my favorites is because it is so forgiving, and it turns out almost every single time. Okay, so in the comments, please do me a favor. I want to know, how did your dough turn out? I also would like to know, what do you top your pizzas with? My boys want a pretty plain pizza. They want ground beef or Italian sausage. That ups your game on your pizza a little bit there. But they want that with a little bit of cheese and pepperoni. That's it. My husband, on the other hand, he likes a good old supreme. That means he wants jalapenos, he wants bell pepper, onion, mushrooms, he wants beef, he wants bacon, he wants pepperoni, he wants the works. So what are you putting on your pizzas? Preheat that oven at 400 degrees. You're going to bake those pizzas for 20 minutes. So 400 degrees for 20 minutes to perfection. Would you look at that pizza goodness? Okay, how do we know if the dough is done? Just simply lift up the edge, and you're looking for dry bread-like texture. You don't want any shiny, sticky looking dough. You want to make sure that it's all fairly evenly dry. Of course, not burnt or overly dried out, but it does look kind of like a slice of bread when you lift it up. Just that dry texture. Enjoy. I hope your family enjoys it as much as my family does. It is one of our favorite meals. Thank you so much for watching, and please like, follow, and subscribe for more recipes with Nettie at Jesus in the Humdrum.